Welcome, everybody, to Life in the Fast Lane. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. We got a very strange week in racing. We've got a restrictor plate race, and then we're coming off of the summer break for Formula One. We're going to be a little bit Formula One heavy on this episode, as if you guys follow me, you know I don't bet on the restrictor plate races. I would recommend that as well. Way too crazy, a lot of unknowns and a lot of volatility. So I just suggest to invest your money in other places besides that. But let's get into it. As always, leave your comments and your picks below. You guys know I love hearing what everyone is betting on. I kind of hope I don't see a whole lot of bets that you guys have on the Daytona race. I'll be honest. I hope I see some Formula One bets, but please leave your comments below. And also, I'd like to say it was so cool meeting you at the Vegas meet and greet. Several of you came out there just to talk NASCAR and Formula One, and it was really, really cool. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming out and for all the compliments. It really gave me some adrenaline to keep working hard on this show, so I appreciate all of you. We did have the Watkins Glen race. I was in Vegas when that happened, so I was able to watch most of it, but I wasn't able to dissect it as much as I normally do. So we got Chase Briscoe winning stage 1, Logano winning stage 2, and of course, Kyle Larson winning the race. Just some takeaways. I mean, AJ Allmendinger, how good is this guy on road courses? Every time makes the incredible recovery, ends up second after the spin. Here we go with the Gibbs cars again. Only one car ends up inside the top 19. That was Christopher Bell. We went 2-0 last week, and our big play was, of course, fading Denny Hamlin on another road course. So we got Chris Buescher over Denny Hamlin. That bet was never in doubt. I also got to say, Michael McDowell and Chris Buescher, more top 10 finishes on road courses. This Michael McDowell year on road courses is really something. The saying has been that the only luck Michael McDowell has on road courses is bad luck. He has completely transformed that. He is a real threat and a real force on these road courses. We talked about Michael McDowell on the show. You could get him at plus 150 to finish inside the top 10. This is a guy that was fighting for the win at some points. He was right up near the front for a lot of the race. So I think Chris Buescher and Michael McDowell are continuing to be undervalued here on these road courses. I hope we keep getting these soft lines, because these guys are just you get them in matchup against these Gibbs cars, and it's a no-brainer. Another great finish for Daniel Suarez. He gets another top 5 finish. And then we got to talk about my guy, Kimi Räikkönen. I bet against Kimi Räikkönen, and I got to say, at the beginning of the race, I was nervous. He was actually running good, made it into the top 10, but in true Kimi Räikkönen fashion, he fell to the back and gets into an accident. That's the story of Kimi Räikkönen's, the later part of Kimi Räikkönen's career. So congratulations to Kyle Larson, ran near the front, gets the best of the last restart, pulls ahead, closes out the race ahead of AJ Allmendinger. That's a really good win for him and that team, because it feels like he's just been in the shadow of Chase Elliott on these road courses. And it was a nice reminder to say Larson can absolutely win these over his teammate. So a good win for him. I do not have a Stenhouse Award. Nothing really jumped off the page for me this week. So if I missed something, let me know down in the comments. But I really didn't see anything too crazy. Playoff recap, Martin Truex was a train wreck. Even in practice, he said, they asked him, where are you struggling? And he said, everywhere. So he was never, ever even remotely close to being able to win that race. So he is still on the outs on the playoffs. Blaney is still in, as he does not have a win, but he still has the most points of drivers who don't have a win. So we're kind of looking at this Truex and Blaney situation. If Blaney gets a win, he's going to be in. If Truex gets the win, he's going to be in. But right now, Blaney has the edge in points. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, that's the biggest story in NASCAR right now. We mentioned it, Daytona. I just don't bet on restrictor plate races. I'm not even going to bet on props. I'm not going to bet on the lead changes. I'm not going to bet on the cautions. So I would recommend the same to everybody. So there's no reason to force it. We're having a really, really good season. We're at 59% now after going 2-0. So I could not be happier for hitting 59% of bets. We're not going to force anything. We're also going to be a little bit cautious with Formula One. We're going to take a little trip to the slipstream here. We're at Belgium Grand Prix. Weather. it can throw this track and this race into chaos, and it looks like it may happen again as we're looking at rain and thunder showers throughout the weekend. So be very careful with betting on this race. We don't know what we're going to get, and if it rains in these first couple practices, some of these teams that brought updates and changes to their cars may not get a chance to test them out. Let's take a look at some of the stories that are coming off of the big break. Obviously, teams are going to be bringing updates to their cars, but the one that everyone's talking about is this Aston Martin. It's a little bit controversial. They bring this new wing. They actually debuted it at the last race. They wanted to get it in the last race before the break. It's a little bit controversial because it feels like they're skating around the rules, but technically it is legal. And one of the things that it does is it dirties up the air even more to the cars behind it. So in theory, it's supposed to make your car a little bit faster, but it also slows down the cars behind it. Formula1.com had a great article about it where one of the crew chiefs was saying, make no mistake about it, teams are upset about this new Aston Martin wing. But if it works, every team's going to go to it. So don't get it twisted. This wing is here to stay for the rest of the season. There's nothing they can do with the rules. So take a look at some of those pictures. It's kind of interesting what they did with that new wing. So we'll see if it makes a difference on them. Ferrari came out and said just point blank, we're going to do what's best for Ferrari. We're going after the Constructors' Championship. So don't be surprised if they implement some team orders to try and gain ground on Red Bull, the team, as opposed to trying to get one driver to the championship. I don't know what the scenario could possibly be, but they're going to do what's best for the team. They're very, very open about it. So they may, instead of taking risks to try and get, like, if they have a chance to take a risk to get Leclerc ahead of Verstappen for the win, they may play it safe and just take the second place if they think they're going to gain points in the Constructors' Championship. So I thought that was interesting coming out of the Ferrari. The new anti-porpoising rules, they really go strong into effect. We remember this early this year. Some of the porpoising where the car was kind of bouncing up and down. But they make the floors a little bit flexible. They think the theory is that it makes the car a little bit faster if the floor is able to bend a little bit. But they've had some problems with that. Lewis Hamilton had complained about a back injury, and several drivers complained about it. So they put these rules in about porpoising. This is the race where it really, really takes into effect. Mercedes has said they think it's going to help them out a little bit more. They think it might hurt Ferrari and Red Bull a little bit more. Take that for a grain of salt. Of course, they're going to say something like that, but something else to keep in mind. So we'll see if it affects any teams at all. And then the big story just came out yesterday. Daniel Ricardo and McLaren are having a breakup. This Daniel Ricardo thing is really strange. I mean, a few years ago, this guy was looked at. This guy might be the future of Formula One. He was the star of the Netflix show. It has not worked out for McLaren. I mean, Lando Norris is the clear number one. Reading an article, they were just saying that Ricardo and the car just have not mixed. They haven't vibed, and they need to move in a different direction. So it's just very strange watching Daniel Ricardo, who I thought was going to be the guy ripping off championships, and instead it's, Verstappen and Leclerc. So it's amazing how quick things can change. I think Alpine is the logical landing spot. Fernando Alonso is leaving. That leaves an open seat. So it wouldn't surprise me if Alpine made a run at Daniel Ricciardo. I do not know if they have a young guy in waiting, kind of like a George Russell situation where Mercedes knew that George Russell was going to be their guy. So I don't think Alpine has a young guy going, but Daniel Ricciardo is going to be leaving, and I really think they're just. I don't know where his career goes from here, but it's pretty strange to watch. So, all right, the Belgium Grand Prix. We can take a look at the track here, and you can see it's an interesting track. As you see, it kind of has these long straightaways, but they always seem to. There's always little bits of curves in there, so. I'm going to tread very lightly coming off of the break. I see that the books have Max Verstappen as a pretty big favorite, and I see that Charles Leclerc is the second favorite, but he's pretty big plus money. I don't know. I'm not gonna wager any money on an outright winner just because I don't know if we're gonna get the full. I don't know if we're gonna get the full extent of practice that these teams are going to need just because of the weather. If you remember last year, the weather was a disaster here at this race. So this track, I guess it would favor the Red Bulls, but I don't really know what the cars are going to look like. I hope we don't get weather in the first practice. I want to be able to see these cars. I still can't lay any money on Ferrari until they get their pit strategy figured out. I saw during the break they came out and they said they want to make some changes, but the strategy isn't one of them. I mean, the ego you have to say something like that when the strategy is literally the reason why you have blown races, and say we're not gonna mess with the strategy is just insane. There's no way they can actually mean that. But until Ferrari demonstrate that they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot, I can't bet on them. But at the same time, they did blow some races. The only thing I will say is if we get rain in qualifying, that can leave the door wide open to some really good bets, because the books last time this happened where we had weather in qualifying, the books left the door open and gave us some fantastic head-to-head matchups. So we were able to profit big time off of that. So fingers crossed that practice is pretty clear, and then hope maybe we get some rain and some craziness in qualifying, because the books don't seem to adjust properly for that one. Let's get to a free bet. Obviously, it is not going to be it's not going to be in NASCAR. I will have my auto racing packages up. I'm going to throw this play up on WagerTalk.com, but just make sure you don't panic if you don't see any bets for me before qualifying. I'm going to wait till after qualifying, maybe day of the race. So if you want to go grab that, that's on WagerTalk.com. We're hitting 59% of our bets, and we've cashed this one a couple times. Free bet is going to be Lewis Hamilton to finish on the podium. I'm looking at his finishes recently: third, second, and second. So that's a nice 5-race run of Lewis Hamilton finishing on the podium. He doesn't always have the best car, but Mercedes does not make mistakes this year. They're going to put their cars in the best position. They're always going to be ahead of Ferrari in terms of pit strategy and tires. So I think they have the huge edge there. And let's take a look at this porpoising issue. If Mercedes is right, maybe they do catch up with Ferrari and Red Bull a little bit. I don't think they're ready to outrun them over the course of an entire race. I don't think they're ready to beat Verstappen or Leclerc. But certainly, if Ferrari makes more mistakes, or if we have an accident at the beginning, you better believe Lewis Hamilton is going to be there. He's now cemented himself as the number one guy there at Mercedes after it looked like it might be Russell at the first part of the year. So let's take Lewis Hamilton to finish on the podium again. So recap, guys, we're not betting on NASCAR, and we're going to hope that we get a little bit of rain during qualifying and we get some juicy head-to-head matchups and props after the Formula One qualifying. So good luck, everyone. All my plays we found on WagerTalk.com. And if you're looking forward to playing props with me this winter in football, in NHL, in NBA, we're running a special now. There's no promo code needed. It's on my profile page. $399 gets you props for the rest of the year in all sports. We are at 83 units of profit so far this year in props. So we're looking forward to a really, really good fall. So grab all that on my profile page on WagerTalk.com. Let's cash Lewis Hamilton on the podium. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week on Life in the Fast Lane.